You know, when students are like, why does he take so long to do stuff? And why does like our classrooms? Because I genuinely like this stuff way too much. If I didn't like this stuff, we would be in and out in 20 and 25 minutes flat every day. It's just like, I just love this stuff so much. Okay. Oh, sorry. We probably didn't need to record that part. I'll have to cut it out. Okay, let's get into this. First off, we're going to take a look at the Salesforce conferences. What? Why are we looking at the Salesforce conference? Right? What does this have to do with anything? Why are we looking at the Salesforce conference? All right, so you know, when we're going to have conferences at one point, Salesforce is one of the people that is going to hire or one of the major employers of UX designers. They are a massive company that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I remember when they were this little company that did a CRM. Now they're just like taking over the world in terms of like, yeah, like just they're big.
They have an office in the Spokane area too, I believe.
Do they?
Yeah, my cousin used to work for them. I'm gonna
I
fact check that really quick.
because I'm gonna go knocking on their door virtually. When if that's true.
I think it's more of a business kind of headquarters, but yeah, they do.
Okay, awesome. So,
Spokane Valley.
oh yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Danielle. That I did not know that. All right, so that's great. They have these conferences, and I know that none of them are happening right now, not Trailhead, but they have a lot of them. And like Macklemore played one, Metallica played one. Like they're just these huge. What's that? Janet Jackson. Yeah. So like, think about this. There's this like near Comic-Con size event that is happening, and it's based around this one company. So again, why am I telling you this? Because you should look under their jobs, just like we talk about IDEO. You should look under their jobs. Speaking of jobs, just like I hope some of you looked at the job postings I sent. And for each one of these job postings, they all say it would be really, really good if you could code. And this one here, it says basically, we need someone who can code. Yeah. And so this is why it's tough for me to take these apart, right? To take this out. And even if you take a look at the product designer, right under there here, if you could actually, you know, implement your ideas that you just drew up, right? Can you actually understand the material? Right? The material being just, yeah, understand the material that you're building with. It'd be very, very nice. So that's a job posting. Here's a job posting. These are people that you can contact to send your portfolios to. Okay. That's a great Susan Kerr right there, right? She's the reason we have all those the command icons on your dashboard. She's also designed the bug icon right before she knew what bugs were, like computer bugs. How do you design an icon for that? Okay. Where we're getting into this, one is jobs. The other one is one of the things that Notion, the tool that you're looking at right now, even to do the class, right? I'm hoping that y'all looked at this. If this is the first time you're seeing this, then, you know, read my emails, follow those links. Okay. Coffee, they go out for lunch, like they go have lunch together, they do stuff. It's just like a nice, you know, work environment. I love that they make you take off your shoes. Or there's a picture of everybody taking their shoes off right here. Yeah, because you know me, I walk around, so I think that's great. I'm going quickly. I know I'm going quickly, but the big thing here is does it have a lot of principle? And under Doug Engel, right there. This is who we're going to be taking the first 5 minutes to take a look at. What we're doing right now is we're getting meta. We're still continuing to get meta, and that's never going to end. Douglas Engelbart is, ooh, what can I say about him? The fact that they talk about, you know, here are some names, right? Brett Victor is also on their job postings. And like, if you know of these people and you know that picture is Susan Kerr, you would be really, really good to work here. Right? Here's a design company that believes that you build good products upon the work of others. You're always standing on the shoulder of giants. And there's no amount. So calling, get practical. Go apply for these jobs. There, practical. Colin, you can get practical. Okay. A lot of what we're doing here came from this mother of all demos, right? Volumes and volumes have been written about this, what happened, 50 years ago, right? And I'm struggling because we could make an entire course on this hour-and-a-half demo. We can make a 10-week course on this hour-and-a-half demo. I kid you not, without question, because this is where copy and paste was invented, the mouse, like all these ideas of how do you augment human intellect. And what Douglas Engelbart and his team were saying, right, was, I have it highlighted here. They basically said, if at your job, it takes away all of my highlighting here. There you go. Yeah. He basically said, here, ask this question, right? Did you all hear that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. They heard that. All right. He posited a question. Basically says, if this is your office and you're an intellectual worker, if a computer display backed by a computer that was basically instantly responsible and responsive to every action, how much value we derive from that? That was 1968. Right. Douglas Engelbart, Alan Kay, right? All the people at Xerox PARC. This idea of, all right, so we got all these tools. So what? Right. How are we actually going to advance? It sounds bigger than it is, but I can't stress enough. How are we going to advance the human intellect? This was, do the math, 1968. I can't even begin to talk about how forward thinking this is. All right. And so why can this be a 10-week class is because how many companies and designers and developers and engineers and philosophers and mathematicians, how can people, right, think this far ahead? And what they've done, they've dissected this process, they've dissected this video, and everyone is trying to learn from what his team was doing. It's like, how do we make something that is that influential, right, 50 years from now? And this is what I need you to take note of all this. This is user experience, right? This stuff has been around for forever. Why was copy and paste invented? Because it improved the user experience, right? If I took away copy and paste from you, would your experience be diminished? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Right. And that's what we're trying to say. So hang in with me, right? It's 5 minutes. It's so well worth your time. And anytime I meet a UX designer that doesn't know about this, about these names, or I meet a designer that doesn't know about this demo, I kind of get sad. I'm like, really? Like, this stuff wasn't invented last week. This has been around long before this demo, and it will be around long before. Anyway, get off your soapbox, Colin. Just play the video. All right, here we go. Did I hit share screen? Okay. Let me know if you can.
If in your office, you as an intellectual worker were supplied with a computer display backed up by a computer that was alive for you all day and was instantly responsive instantly responsive to every action you had, how much value could you derive from that? Well, this basically characterizes what we've been pursuing for many years in what we call the Augmented Human Intellect Research Center at Stanford Research Institute. We're going to try our best to show you rather than tell you about this program. Okay, there's Don Andrews' hand in Menlo Park. And in a second we'll see the screen that he's working and the way the tracking spot moves in conjunction with movements of that mouse. I don't know why we call it a mouse. Sometimes I apologize. It started that way and we never did change it. This characterizes the way I could sit here and look at a completely blank piece of paper. That's the way I start many projects. So with my system, that's a good start. I'll sit here and say, I'd like to load that in. So I'm putting in an entity called a statement, and that's full of other entities called words. And if I make some mistakes, I can back up a little bit. So I have a statement with some entities' words, and I can do some operations on these. I can copy a word. I can say that word like copy after itself. Let's make more statements. I'll say copy that statement, and lo and behold, I have another one. Copy that one, another one. I can even copy groups of statements. I can say after that one, copy the group from there to there. And it does. So let me jump back to the head of the list, and I can do things like begin to reorganize it a little bit. Well, I say after bananas, it's more likely that I'll take the carrots there. So let me organize it by saying just generally produce. All right, produce, I've got carrots, and I'll move under there also bananas. And in fact, I could move a whole group under there, saying oranges and apples also. Well, I'm going to do something called jump on a link. And a link is something that'll go between files. So what it's going to do, it says I'm going to go to your file name as CNRO. So here's what I drew with a picture drawing capability here. It's a slight map if I start from work, and here's the route I seem to have to go to pick up all the materials. And that's my plan for getting home tonight. But if I want to, I can say, the library, what am I supposed to pick up there? I can just point to that, and oh, I see, overdue books and all. Well, there was a statement there with that name on it. So in his display, he sees my text, so I'll execute it. And sure enough, it does. But what's that running around? Well, if he's looking at my text, he'd like to have something to say about it. So we put on a marker, a tracking spot that he controls. So he's sitting in Menlo Park looking at this text, and he can point to it. But we've carefully reserved for me the right to control and operate on this. So my bug is more powerful than yours. But we can have an argument. Yeah. That's what they call a bug fight. So we've set up now audio coupling, and we're both looking at the same display, and that'd be very handy to work. We can talk to each other and point, and maybe later I can hand you the chalk on this blackboard, like saying, here, you control it. But let's stay this mode now and add another feature that hardware-wise is available to the kind of display we have. I'd like to see you while I'm working on it. And we're going to go for a picture down in our laboratory in Menlo Park and pipe it up. Come in, Menlo Park. Hi, Bill. That's great. Now we're connected audio. You can see my work. You can point at it, and I can see your face, and we can talk. So let's do some collaborating. And a forthcoming involvement is this ARPA computer network, the experimental network that's going to come into being in its first form in about a year and end up sometime later with some 20 experimental computers in a network, which would be enough so that I could be running a system in Cambridge over the network and getting the same kind of response on a CRT. And it may be that people there, the next time we have a conference in Boston, I'll try this from there. And in that network, we're going to try to develop a special service to provide network information, relevant network information for people, for the kind of information that it takes to operate such a network. Who's got what services, what protocol do I use to get there, who's up today, how much towards the user's guide, where can I find the paper that describes this system that so-and-so offers. And that's going to be a very interesting challenge for us to utilize our tools for organizing and retrieving information.
Douglas Engelbart died in 2013. Alan Kay just recently passed away. Right. And these are all names that y'all should be aware of, and it's hard to follow. Like, how do I continue on with lecture? Like, every time I talk about this stuff, like, it's very humbling. Right, to know that so much of what we think is like forward thinking it's just a remix of these original ideas from the past, and it's very original ideas. And the audience, I was sitting there watching this demo, going, "What is a computer again?" And I can't stress that to you enough. Like, let that sink in for a second. You're going to be demonstrating and designing for things that people aren't aware of and familiar with, right? And you see the potential in it, and you see how good, like what it can, how it can, you know, improve an experience. And you're gonna have to be able to sell that. And did they ever, boy? Did they ever sell that? Okay. Do you see how we can have a 10-week class just on this hour-and-a-half video and never be done? Volumes and volumes are written about this. All right, let's go. Right, Salesforce, right? Go to Salesforce conferences, meet people, you know. Yes, I'm pretending, setting aside the obvious, but it's very much stuff. The other thing here is I want you to be able to take a look at existing design systems between material design, okay, and the Salesforce. Okay, this idea of like, this is not a common thing. And a lot of these, even color, right? We're going to take something just as small as color, right? Well, what's there? What we can't remove from color, right? Oops, not in this one, but is just the color picker itself. There's a lot of this you get into the code about all the making this stuff go, right? Here are the individual components. Okay, this is all code. Okay, and so again, it's really hard for me to take a look at design systems. As well, you have to think about both, right? And as a designer, you can't say, what the heck is all this stuff? I just want to talk about color. It's like, well, we don't have color without about this stuff right here, right? Understanding your material. So I can argue it both ways, right? But I'm just saying most design systems are a single source of truth, right? So if you wanted to put, you know, a color picker into your app or your application, and let's say you're going to go work for Salesforce, and like, we're going to create a new application, right? The code for the card, right? Looks like, I mean, the code for the card is right here. The design for the card is up here. This is what we need to design, but we can't, it's hard to design this well without thinking about how it's going to be implemented. Okay, so look at those two things. We'll get back into that. All right, see here. Look at my notes here. We checked for jobs, check. All right, any questions on the mother of all demos? No? All right, well, let's get into today's topic. Or was it just too much for you? Was that it? Was that it? So it's just too much, too overwhelming? No one picked today? The poll? Were you just being nice there in the poll? Is what you didn't want to pick today? Okay, well, let's do this.
Today felt like a trap.
Trap?
Like you know who? I don't. Is it an anonymous poll?
It's anonymous. Oh. Should
I
I repost it?
I didn't select today because I thought I might want feedback on my work later, like next week. So I guess my thought is, are you going to have office hours after the last day of class, or
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that make sense?
Like I said in the beginning of class, I love this stuff, right? I'm not going to leave y'all until like the university says I have to stop talking. Like legally, I'll stop talking to you when the university says you can't bug them anymore, right? I'll just make myself available. So does that answer your question? I will definitely be available.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think we're ever done with this stuff, and that's how I need you to think about it. It's never done. What you're seeing me doing right here is not doing my work before class. This is being recorded for posterity. Am I using that word right? I'm working on the, what's it called? The spreadsheet for your for the Silverback learning, and this is where we're going today and tomorrow. So I need to get that finished. And my apologies. I was hoping to have that ready for us today, so we can actually start pulling real data from it. But I didn't, so I'm gonna get that done as soon as I can. But what I'm gonna do right now is we talked about Salesforce. We're referencing Material.io. You know, we know that we're using Roboto, and I just want to talk about the different sections that we're going to be designing for, right? And get us started on this. Okay, let's see here. Here are our components. components. All right, reference Salesforce. Okay. All right, color palette. You're going to determine this from the existing colors, right? We did that already. You should already have that, right? Like, what are the existing color palettes, and which new colors are you going to introduce, if any, right? And a good place again to look at this is look at the material design section, right? You can reference it. Just take a look at how color is used. You know, what is an accent color? What is the UI color? Good there. All right. Any questions on color? Thumbs. We're gonna go through this quickly. All right. Let's get you out of here. All right. Oh shoot, I missed typography, y'all. All right. Just to double check. So Colin, we've already addressed some of this in class. Why are we talking about it again? Because I need to double check that we got this. Okay. Because what right now is I can only see. I've only seen one or two people's design systems for the Silverback, right? Of what they've already started. So I've only checked 2 so far, and the trust is that we're building this thing out. And if you're not building this thing out, talk to me. Like, and so what my hope is, like, here are the things that you need to start building out, like now, if you haven't started, and some of us already have. All right. So what's the typeface we're using? Roboto. All right. Thank you, Rhiannon. I saw you mouth it. Good. Okay. We're gonna get a full. All right. I guess I can't comment on what is in your all's background. Can be anything in the background. I can't comment. Gotta leave it alone. All right. Office hours I can, but all right. So Roboto, good. All right. Good in color. All right. Good on your typography. All right. That is our UI topography, right? That is everything you consider UI. So I'm gonna highlight something, and what you're gonna say is yes UI or no UI. Emma Aaron, name of student.
Yes.
No, right? That's content. That's the name of the student. All right. What is UI on here? All right. Previous and next.
Yes.
Right. That's UI, right? Print button. Print text. Good.
UI.
All right. Race and ethnicity.
No.
Content.
Perfect. Right. And we need to be able to separate, right? So when we talk about UI fonts, you can use it for the content, but then it gets really confusing about, like, well, where does the application begin and where does the content begin? And a good UI font just fades into the background, right? And again, material design has basically said, look, we've done all the research, right, about what we have made, right? I mean, Google basically said, look, we don't want to use anybody else's UI font. We're going to make our own. Right. So yeah, they basically just said that we're going to make our own. Okay, because we think on our devices for what we want to do, we think this looks best. Right. So again, building off the, and when you get higher up, right, at Salesforce, and you get higher up at Adobe, right, you're going to be able to make those, be a part of those discussions and make those design decisions yourself. Okay. So we've already talked to one about that when before Apple had San Francisco, right? They messed up this word. Okay. It's supposed to say click here, but the font was too thin. So it said, you can guess what it said instead. Okay. I know I've brought up that example. I got to find that page. Yeah. Got to find that screenshot, right? It said something else, and it was up on the screen at their major conference. And the whole audience was like laughing because the kerning was so tight. Okay. I don't teach typography anymore, but this is one of the examples that I bring up. I should bring up my typography slides. Judging by the reaction, yep. Have you not seen bad typography? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's
Not
fine.
like that.
Cover your home with what? Designers. Looks great on your screens. Okay, so, all right. That's clever. Bad logos is a good one. This one hurts the most because it's unintentional. Right, this one's really like, someone designed this and got really excited, right? And this got printed and they stood there on the street and they go, I designed that. And they're really happy about it. And they felt good that day. And someone else walked by and said, what the heck happened? Okay. And most people don't even notice. That's what we do. All right. There's a classic one that I use for bad logos along this one that we see quite a bit. Safe. There's that one. That's a good one. You've all seen that. This is all made by y'all. Looking at y'all, right? This one is in use all the time. I have to tell my children to look for this sign. All right, kids, if you're in trouble, look for this sign. This is all over Spokane. Designers, this is our work. This is someone's work. Yes, look for the safe place. Now the kids see it. Look, oh, my kids can recognize papyrus now too. Like, look at the papyrus, Dad. Like, yeah. Okay, so enough of that. Let's see here. All right, so we got color palette. We understood typography, right? That gets us into iconography. All right, so linked out. Oh, what is all of my links are broken? The next one here. Again, right, we're taking a look at, here are all the icons. Okay, right? Here is the direct link for did you all just see that notification? No? Okay, good. All right, Colin, if we could, none of us care. Your life isn't that exciting. All right, so you're going to go to material design here, okay? And you're going to find that printer icon that you want to use. You're going to find the next arrow and the left arrow. And what I say is you can pick any one of the variant themes for each of these, right? Some of you are going to want it to be outlined. Some of you are going to want it to be sharp, right? Your job is to figure out, right? Where does Roboto look best for this application? All right, we good on icons. Okay. All right, so right now what we've addressed, okay, it's just the UI stuff. So typography, icon, dashboard. This is the next thing that needs to be designed. It should be everything inside of, oh shoot, I have no way to highlight this. Right, this space right here. Okay, that is essentially the dashboard, this area here. Boom, that is the dashboard. This is what we're focusing on right now. So when I say the design of the dashboard, I'm thinking about that. Okay, basically the HUD, the heads-up display, right? What is going to give us convey all the information, not all the information, right? That's going to get us the relevant information, right, for that screen. Okay. Relevant information for that screen. So that's what we're taking a look at right now. Okay, dashboard. So required stuff for the dashboard, name and the navigation. Okay, like what needs to, let's break this down. So let's discuss student e-file for a second. This is something I go back and forth on this. I don't think it needs to say student e-file, right? If it does say student e-file, it shouldn't have the same type treatment as the name of the student. So do we?
So you're saying we have the option to remove items, elements that we deem are unnecessary.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, and you're going to have to, Ethan, convince the client that this is a good idea right here.
Cool.
Right. Do you know what old Colin would do? Do you know what student Colin would do? I would bring this up into the dev tools, right? Because I'm old, but not that old. And I would just design all of this in the dev tools. And then I would, oh shoot. It's running on the same element. Right. I would design this in the dev tools, and then I would just take a screenshot and show the client, because developers are inherently lazy, right? And I was like, oh, what's the fastest way I can get feedback on? I don't think this is a bad idea. Why am I saying all this? Because you're telling boring stories about your past? No, I'm giving you advice. Like, if it's fast for you to just take a screenshot of this and cut it up into Photoshop and piece it back together, do that. Like, get as much and the last section in today's lecture is like, what do we need to ask the client? Like, we want to get as much feedback as possible so we can make revisions quickly with our design components inside of Figma. Like, we should be able to make revisions quickly. Any revision and change and new ideas that you have, if your initial reaction is, like, I don't want to, or this is going to take too long, then that's a problem in your process. That's what we're trying to fix in UX3. Like, revisions should happen quickly, early, and often, right? Revise early, often, and quickly. Like, iterate. Okay. Otherwise, you get so married to an idea. Colin, you've already given this lecture, right? I know. I'm going to keep saying it, right? Otherwise, you get so married to an idea because you spent so much time on it. And I'm the one that has to say, sorry, I have to give you the bad news. That is not a good idea. There's a better idea. There's a better solution. But I spent so much time on this solution, right? If I had $1 for every time a student told me they spent a lot of time on something, right? Okay. Good there? Okay. All right. So thanks, Ethan. Just you, me, and Rhiannon today. All right. So breadcrumb navigation to student dashboard, right? What else should go there? What else is required? Right. Now, why is breadcrumb navigation required? I'm dictating this, and if the client pushes back, I will defend this one. I think there's so much stuff on this site that this breadcrumb navigation is what's most accessible for someone that is using this for the first time. Because I have rewatched the video, right? Just like you all have, as I smirk, right? You've all rewatched the client video, yes, right? And I'm constantly getting lost. I'm like, where am I and what is going on? And every time I say, where am I and what's going on, this has more and more value. This breadcrumb navigation has more and more value because I'm constantly asking, where am I? Okay, and how do I get to where I want to go? Good? Okay. I've liked this new UI pattern while we're talking about this. I like the new UI pattern that, let's pretend we went to this section. The breadcrumb navigation would gray these out so you can see where you are. And also see where you can go. And I've really enjoyed that modern UI pattern. I thought that was good.
If there's a bunch of pages, so let's say you went back to class summary, if there are a ton of pages that you can get to from there, wouldn't that be a little bit cumbersome? I mean, I'm sure you could design around it, but
yeah. And Ethan, what you're bringing up is an information architecture problem. And if that ever became the case, you can go to the information architects and go, this entire thing might need, like, how all the information is architect could be redone.
Gotcha. So just establishing a better hierarchy.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do is map that out. This is what, see?
Gotcha.
Right. So, yeah. Something. Oh, do I have to pause? Yeah, I do have to pause. Hold on. I got to pause this video. Okay, so again, right, don't do the kitchen drawer design. Okay, does anybody's house not have a drawer that's just full of just random stuff? Okay, Marie Kondo. Remember, it was a Marie Kondo? Marie Kondo? What's her
It's
name?
Marie.
Marie, thank you. She's, you know what she's doing now? She's selling stuff. We're like, wait, isn't this the antithesis of what you're promoting here? You can't have a product line. How do you have a product line? Oh, so anyway, I've read both of her books. Okay, so I'm all on board with this, except for when she has this.
Does she sell trash cans?
No.
Yes, she does.
She does. Oh, yes. All right. Basket tea strainer. So, yeah. Yeah, I read her books before she had a show, and it's just like, yeah. Let's see. Good. Hey, oh, she just left. All right, good. All right, now we're recording. Okay, where are we with this? So, dashboard. What else should go on there? Up to you. All right, let's talk about this feature, printing. It's very important. That's why it's up here. Okay, there is the standard print feature. Did you see that pop-up window? Okay, there's the normal pop-up window, and then there's the customized print feature. Okay, and so to people who are, very familiar with this stuff, it's like, oh, well, this belongs to the system, right? This belongs to the user. Okay, and so we need to make that immediately apparent here. Is right, student transfer file. Well, it's just slowly loading, but right, these two things are related. That's why they're next to each other. And so this is why I said there's default printing, essentially the customized printing. Yeah. Right. I think I just broke the site. Oh, Oh, lecture over. Okay. Almost done. All right, navigation. There is the per class and per student. Okay, that's this section right. I think we crashed the server. All right. That's the drop-down menus. Okay. Right here, y'all. I can't believe I'm giving the lecture like this, but it's the drop-down menus. Okay. So as you move upon, this says this C right here is for class. As you move through the class, okay, not like classroom, but like the types of classes, okay, they'll have the number of students where my mouse cursor is will change. Like the number of students listed will change. Wow, this is really broken. So that's that navigation. All right, check, thumbs, reaction. Okay. All right, lastly, it's the tabs for each section. That is the last part of the header. Okay, that's the student performance, that these tabs up here. And so this is what we're gonna focus on, right, is this section right here. Next, we're gonna get to the stuff inside of the actual tabs, and the stuff inside of the actual tabs. The stuff inside the actual tabs is pretty, there's a pattern to it. Okay, like I said, table header, table row, okay, table cell, okay, and each of these, there's more alike about each of the tabs than there are different. Okay. And what's really where we need to put our focus is right here in the dashboard. Right here is the class. Again, just trying to rehash what we've discussed in the video, okay, because I'm feeling some of us haven't watched it. Okay, these are the types of grades. Okay. And then these are the students. So watch me change this, right? If I go into whatever, I think M is math. Okay, you can see the number of students related to this change. Yeah. Now that took a while for me to figure out. And if there was a way to make that a little bit more apparent, it'd be nice. So maybe along with student e-file, right? If we decide to keep this, is, well, what class I'm in. I don't like having to look at this to know where I am. This is very, very, very clear about where I am, right? This is not so much, okay? And maybe somewhere this, instead of saying class, it says, grade 5 attendance. Good. And the last part is, what questions do we have for the clients? Go.
Is there anything they absolutely don't want? And I guess kind of back to my original question, I'm assuming we have to stay within their hierarchy structure, right? Like it would be a little too involved to begin suggesting they change, data hierarchy and web pages and stuff like that.
That, and we don't have enough information. Just like the bank example that I told you. Part of that 6 months, the first few months is just interviews, right? We would just go meet with each of the teams and say, tell me about wealth management, because I don't know anything about this. Tell me about what is the difference between personal checking versus business checking. Right? And that's a lot of our job, y'all. All right. Again, man, watch the machine dig a hole. Can't design for machines that dig holes until you actually watch the machine dig a hole. Anything else?
I don't know if it's a question for the client specifically, but are we expected to have our redesigns be interactive for the client to click through?
So why we're suggesting Figma is for these reasons right here. Do we want it to be interactive? It would help, right? Fidelity always helps address concerns and questions, right? So, Rhiannon, your question's about fidelity, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So let's say like this was, let's say this was the completed design system here. For Allison, right? She could come in here and talk about these icons. For Joe, he can come in here and actually get the SVG out of this. So we can come in here and copy and paste, get the SVG code, right, and put it into. So your prototype should be the source of truth for both parties, right? Allison should be coming here and take a look at this and go, oh, that label is too small or missing, right? And Joe should come in here and not have to think about how big that label is or where it is. Just come here and goes, I'm going to get the font size. I'm going to get the CSS code for that. And that's where design systems are a single source of truth. Right. Good. To answer your question.
I think I answered my question, but I have a follow-up question. So it can be static, but it's better if it's interactive.
That's why we're using Figma. So you can just click this button. Like, I just want you to send a link to Joe and Allison. Like, here you go.
Okay.
Like, this is one of the huge benefits of Figma. So.
In terms of our level of fidelity and interactivity, if the dashboard is kind of the most important, that's what I'm getting. Would you want us to have like a web page that's completely interactive, or just like a dashboard element so they can see how a user would use the dashboard and navigate through it?
It's not what I want. It's what the client wants. Yeah. So you could, I'm struggling because I don't want to give you the answer. Yeah, basically you're going to have to come up with how much fidelity to get your ideas across.
Okay.
That is really the hard part.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm tracking.
Yeah. Because some of us are going to want to design this whole thing out, right, and have like as close to real as possible, and then get a bunch of major revisions, and then be like, oh my gosh, I took it too far down the fidelity spectrum, right? And I can't implement these changes. Some of us are not going to have enough fidelity. Yeah, and this is what we're practicing, y'all. This is like, what you're not going to get from me is, this is about as close as you're going to get to a checklist about what needs to go on there in discussions. What you need to determine is how much fidelity you're going to deliver to the client to get your ideas across.
Another question for the client, kind of piggybacking off of Ethan, anything that they don't need necessarily?
They said in the video, what did they say in the video? They said, stop recording here. We're going to stop.
I think there was